Why is it taking so long? That's a question that I get from so many business owners when selling their business. Many think that it's a quick transaction, like a sale of real estate, but the reality is that most middle market transactions take between 7 and 10 months. That said, it's not unheard of to have transactions be far in excess of that. Let's walk through the different steps and why it takes so long. While the sale of a business can be accelerated a little bit, trying to push it too much often comes at the expense of excluding a number of potential buyers, therefore making the process less competitive and generally making the likelihood that you're going to get less money. Let's talk about the timeline. Most transactions have 3 phases. The first phase typically takes 3 months. However, this can often be accelerated if the seller is very organized and has all their materials together. In this process, the advisors are going to do due diligence on the business itself. They're going to compile the marketing materials, and they're going to populate the data room that a buyer eventually will use. In the second phase, the investment banker will go to market. He will send out a teaser, which basically describes the opportunity in an anonymized fashion, along with an NDA. Once the NDA gets signed, he then will share the marketing materials with the potential buyer. Once the buyer receives the materials, there's often a number of calls to get to understand the business better with the investment banker. There then is a request for preliminary offers, often called an indication of interest. This is basically used so that we can see if the buyer and the seller are in the same ballpark. If they are, a select number of offers, generally 4 to 6, are moved along to the next stage. They're invited to what's called management meetings, where they'll spend roughly 4 hours with management, being able to discuss whatever they want about the business, and often will involve a site visit afterwards. Ultimately, a few weeks after that point, and generally information requests are occurring during this time, a letter of intent is requested. Letter of intents are received, and generally they're not accepted as is, but further negotiated before the seller ends up signing a single letter of intent. This brings us to the third phase. The third phase of the process involves confirmatory due diligence, where the buyer will use third-party advisors to validate that everything that they predicated their investment upon is true. Generally, when that process is complete, they will then bring in the attorneys who will effectuate the transaction by drafting the various necessary legal documents. That closing process between LOI and closing can generally take between 60 and 90 days. It's a lengthy and complicated process to sell a business. It's important to mentally prepare yourself for that process and to lean on your advisors throughout the entire journey.